How old is too old for Daito-ryu? Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, and today we're going to be discussing age as a limiting factor for the practice, ukemi, and other physical limitations and disabilities that might impair the practice of a classical martial art like Daito-ryu. I'll read the question that I've received. Is this age group welcome to train in Daito-ryu, since most of the participants in many demonstrations taking ukemi seem to be of younger age? I'll stop the question right here. There's a second half to it that I'll get to in a moment. Now, if you're referring to demonstrations that you can find on YouTube from, say, the Kobudo Kyokai or the Kobudo Shinkokai, the two major classical martial art organizations in Japan, and I tend to appear in those demonstrations, at least in the group that I would demonstrate with. Generally, I would be the youngest person by a lot, especially when I started to do embu or demonstration. I would be probably 27 to 29 years of age, and I think the next youngest person would have been probably around 45. Now, arguably, in other demonstration videos and clips that you're going to find, people are younger, but I just wanted to point out that it could be, you might be surprised at how older some of the people you might have seen do ukemi in demonstration might be in reality. I'll continue the question. I've wondered about the older folks that come to Daito-ryu after decades of Aikido practice, some of which may have orthopedic issues where the taking of ukemi is problematic. Is there any way this is dealt with in mainline Daito-ryu? So thank you for your question. So there's a few elements I think would be worth breaking the question down into. The question of age. Now, at the Shibuka Dojo, the Dai Senpai, the elderly senpais that I've been training for, in many cases, over 40 years, well, they still show up to training, and they're not engaging in active training for the most part, but they'll participate in their own way. Some of them are going to be watching training, and every once in a while, maybe take someone aside to show them something that specific person might need to see or hear. One person that I have in mind in particular would initially come to the training just to watch the training, but very quickly decided to bring back his dogi and participate. He wouldn't be participating in the regular training. He would do warm-up exercises on his own, at his own pace. But then at some point, basically, he would take the younger people, or at least the people who have been with the tradition for the least time, and he would coach them in ukemi. And he's at least 72 or 73, if I recall correctly. And to do so, he would take ukemi every once in a while to show how it's done. Now, he wouldn't be able to do 20, 30s, 100 ukemi in a row like the younger guys can, but his ukemi would be very good. And as a matter of fact, I ended up asking for tutelage from him on correcting some bad habits that I had taken. And I was very grateful that he took the time to help me, basically, and to mentor me into fixing some of the issues that I had with my break falls. All that to say that age is not necessarily a limiting factor for the more physically demanding element. You're just not going to be able to do as much, but you can still, by and large, do quite a fair bit. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, for the question of somebody who comes from a different practice, say Aikido, and decides in his latter year to join Daito-ryu, well, whether you come from Aikido or from some other practice, that doesn't really change the equation, I think. The older you start a practice, the less time you have ahead of you to really learn from it. However, and this is something to me, is something I try to emphasize anytime I can, but Daito-ryu is a cultural environment in which people grow and learn. Yes, there's a technical curriculum. Yes, it's physical by nature, but there's tons to learn about just by learning about the culture, just by being part of the culture. If you can't practice because or you cannot do certain activities, you can still do some other activities. If you cannot engage into normal training, you can still go and watch training, right? So if you have physical limitations or disabilities, you should still be able to show up and watch training and try to learn as much as possible. And if your physical limitations are temporary, you should be able to take that experience and bring it back on the mat as part of your practice once you get back into it. And if you're at a point in your life due to age or physical limitations that are more permanent, where you're not going to be able to go back on the mat, there's still tons of things you can learn and still tons of activities you can engage into that will help you benefit from the culture. And if you have a certain number of years of experience in the practice, you're also going to be able to make sure to keep the tradition alive by sharing some of the elements that you've learned over the years and really foster that cultural environment and nourish it in some way. So it's not really. So the point I'm trying to make here is that yes, some people might feel like they're not going to be able to do what they want joining in Daito-ryu because they join at a later age and physically they're not at their prime. But if you are engaging into a martial practice, in my opinion, while this is an important part of it, it's not the only part of it. And if you wish to be part of a tradition and you're willing to put the efforts to try to learn in the ways that are available to you, chances are you're going to be able to get something out of it. So I hope that answered your question. If you have any other, or you or anybody else have any other questions as follow-up or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Thank you for your time, and until next time.